All right. Good morning. Let's get cracking. I think that's probably about everyone that's going to be joining. Might have one or two more stragglers come in. How's everyone feeling? Everyone have a good weekend? Pretty quiet this morning. All right. Well, as you can probably already tell, I'm a little hoarse. I went to the ACC championship game Saturday night and screamed a lot. And I am hurting my voice, anyways, this morning. So it was a very disappointing loss, but that's okay. So we are going to get through this as quick as we can this morning. But obviously, today is a very important rev up. So I want you guys to ask as many questions as you can. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and we will get started. All right. Finding motivated sellers and preparing to win the listing. Obviously pretty important, right? So I think this is everyone's biggest concern when they get licenses is how do I find the sellers, and then how do I win those meetings when I get them, right? If you're great at finding potential sellers but you're not good at converting them, right, it's not super helpful. If you're great at converting them but you can't get in front of sellers, right, you have to find a very good balance of getting in front of people and also converting those as we go. So the listing side is a lot of fun. I imagine most of you are probably will start off with a buyer here and there, and that's how most people will get their feet wet. Don't be scared of going out and trying to find sellers. Sellers is my favorite part. If it was up to me, I'd only work with sellers. I absolutely love taking listings. It really puts you in control of your business and your time. Again, both sides are great and everyone kind of gravitates toward one or the other. My preference is on the listing side. So I love this rev up, but please ask as many questions as you can so I can give my voice a break as we go. So circles of opportunity, customizing your listing presentation. I'll briefly show my listing presentation that I've put together here, and we'll go through that this morning. The 7 steps of the listing process, and then I'll kind of explain how mine's a little bit different. How to qualify sellers, and then using the pre-listing questionnaire. So we have a little questionnaire that kind of puts you and your client kind of on the same page before you go out to a potential drive out to a potential client's house. Effective research and preparation, obviously your comps and all that good stuff, knowing the area before you go out there. Determining the price range. I think several of you were in the comp meeting that I did about a month ago. I think a few of you were, where we kind of went over the CMAs and things like that, and then scripts and dialogues for sellers. Has anyone on here done a listing yet or had a listing? No. Okay. So there's a lot of reasons why you want to be on the listing side. Greater control over your time. So why do you think that you would have greater control over your time if you're on the listing side?
Not having to run around town showing somebody 10 houses.
That's exactly right. Again, buyers are, I'm not trying to discourage you guys from going for buyers. Buyers are a great way to build your business. The beautiful thing about a listing is when I go out and take a listing, a lot of times that might be the only time I go there, or maybe one other time. But once you have the listing, you secure that and you get it live on the market, all the buyers agents are bringing their buyers to your property, right? So you're not running around as much. So it makes it a little bit easier for you guys to have 5 clients at once, right? It's easier to manage 5 active listings than it is to manage 5 active buyers. Does that make sense? Gotcha. Helps you build a reputation in the marketplace. Leslie, why do you think it would help you build a reputation? What are some reasons?
Just because you're getting your name out there and people know who you are and like the type of person you are. and they're going to want to work with you.
Right. And
You
then
know,
and
see
they're
if
doing
there's
that because
something.
they're seeing your yard sign, right?
Mhm.
They're seeing you post your listing, right?
Right.
So that's how it's
Yeah, they
getting
see
out
your
there. I mean,
name, and then once you see
yeah.
that name, it kind of sticks in your mind, and so it's like, oh, I remember that name from somewhere. And they look it up, and just becomes kind of a second nature name in the back of their mind.
Yeah. So
And the
having
first thing they
a
think of.
listing can actually get you a lot more business and buyers,
Mhm.
right? So
Mhm.
when I have a listing, I'm going to share it on all my social medias. I'm going to put a yard sign out there, and almost every single time I'm going to get at least 1 or 2 buyers call up for that yard sign that
Mhm.
doesn't have an agent, right?
Right.
So even though I'm on the listing side, I'm able to pick up buyers from that listing, right? And I
Right.
don't particularly care if they buy my listing or not. I want them to buy a house, right? So it gives me more transactions off of that. So um, having listings, it makes you build your business so much quicker. It's a great way to do it. Like we mentioned, you can handle considerably more volume with listings than buyers. Yeah, and most sellers become buyers, which result in additional transactions, right? So, and there are times where you find a buyer and they also have to list their house, right? It does work the other way around, but it's a little bit more common if you find someone that needs to sell their house that they're also buying. And I have 2 under contract right now. One is not buying. They're retiring and moving in with family, and the other one's also not buying. In North Carolina, they're moving to Oklahoma, right? So not every listing that you have is going to buy in North Carolina, but you have a much greater opportunity for that. Heath, I actually have a buyer for you off of one of my listings that I really don't have time to mess with. I'll talk to you after this. Finding motivated sellers. So we've gone through this a few times, and we'll, for those of you who are new, we'll continue going through this. Motivated sellers, there's a lot of different ways. Obviously your friends and family are always your circle of influence. Life events, door knocking, specialized groups, networking, and referrals is a great way to do it. For sale by owners and expireds are 2 phenomenal ways to pick up listings. If you guys ever want a list of expired leads, listings, or for sale by owner, and you don't want to go through the MLS, shoot me a text. I get a list every single day. Every single morning around 7:30, I get a list of fresh expireds and for sale by owners. If you want it, say, hey, Ryan, can I have them today? I'll send them to you and call through them, see what you can get. Expireds and for sale by owners are phenomenal ways to get listings because both of those people are already wanting to do what?
So.
They're already trying to sell, right?
Mhm.
The expireds just had a bad experience with whatever agent they had. They were on the market for 3 or 6 months. It didn't sell, right? They're frustrated. Now you can kind of come in and show them why you are the expert and why you can price it correctly and why our marketing with Realty One Group is better and that we can get it sold. And then for sale by owner, obviously they are actively trying to sell their house. We just show them that using an agent can actually put more money in their pocket than them trying to do it themselves, and they can also be protected, right? So those two have been a big bread and butter of my career. Is for sale by owner expired listings. It does take picking up the phone. So that is one thing that you're gonna have to get used to doing. Is picking up that phone, and even if you're driving around and about, if you see a for sale by owner, I did this in off of a listing that one of our agents, Drew, had. I was helping him out, and right next door is $1 million house with a for sale by owner sign out front. Guess what I did? I pulled in this driveway and called him. And I've met with him twice, and we're looking at hopefully getting him live first week of January. But it took me literally making a phone call and introducing myself. So again, if you guys are ever interested in that, feel free to ping me. I'll put you on a list and send them to you. So any questions about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Scripts and dialogues, and we have some scripts, and I can send you some as well. But for the most part, you just want to know what you're going to say. When we get to the listing presentation, it's kind of already drawn out. You're basically just reading off your presentation, right? but you need to learn your presentation forwards and backwards, and upside down. So when you get out to a client's house, that you can give that presentation. Ideally, you're always doing your listing presentation. You're sitting at the kitchen table, right, with the husband and the wife, and everything is calm. But guess what? There's gonna be times you're sitting out front with Bubba on his pickup truck because he's got a tenant in the house and you can't go in. There's gonna be times where they've got 4 kids running around pulling at your legs, and you're starting at the end of your presentation and go working your way back to the beginning. So learning your listing presentation is very, very key. So we'll show you the listing presentation here shortly, and then maybe this week you guys can focus on customizing the listing presentation for yourselves and practice it. And then next week we can do maybe a little bit of role playing. You guys can kind of pitch each other on doing that in front of somebody. Prospecting schedule. Again, this goes back to and Andrea mentions this a lot, is time blocking. Time blocking for your prospecting. Mine is normally 9 to 11. Again, Mondays are kind of not good because I'm teaching this. But 9 to 11 is normally my most productive prospecting for the day. I'm calling, texting, and emailing usually 20 to 40 people every day, right? And that's going to give me the best opportunity to take a new listing every week, right? And that's my goals. 2 appointments a week at least, and 1 new listing, right? So whatever your goal is, know how many calls you need to make to do that, and then work your way backwards, right? Obviously, you guys will need to get that many contacts in order to be calling that many people, but as your CRM builds, then you will be able to do that, right? So that's why it's so important, is to every single day find a way to put 1 new person in your CRM, or 2 people, right? Talk to people every single day, and always be putting them into your CRM. Has everyone added someone into the CRM at least? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. If you haven't and you don't know how, or you don't understand why, let me know. We can have another conversation off meeting as well. But I I have over probably 2,000 people in my CRM at this point, right? And they're not all mine. I have a team, and a lot of them are theirs, but it is important to build your database. And even if they're not buying or selling right now, even if they told you no, I'm still putting them in there and putting them on a drip campaign. And eventually everyone will buy and sell, right? So it's very important that you guys do that. But the prospecting schedule is getting prepared, who you're going to call, text, and email. Prospecting is hour 2. And then hour 3 is following up with those people, right? I talked to Curtis during my prospecting hour 2. Hour 3, I'm going to follow up with him, send him a nice email, and then notate that, right? So get set up so you can do everything that you need to do in your time frame, right? That didn't change. Okay. Excuse me. Track progress. I am old school. I am pen and pad for my notes. How many calls I make, how many emails, texts. I write it all down. This is a good way to do it as well. Excuse me. I'm not sick. My voice is absolutely destroyed. I was screaming "Go Hills" at the top of my lungs like a crazy person for about 4 hours, and it didn't work. So it was to no avail. But anyways, tracking your progress is a great way to do it. Even Saturday and Sunday. I made calls and texts on Saturday and Sunday as well. I feel like that's a great time to reach out to people, because a lot of agents don't want to do anything on the weekend, or they're scared to reach out to potential buyers and sell this. But understand that's usually when they're at home, right? And they have some free time. So don't harass people on the weekend, but doing a quick hour on Saturday morning, not early, right? Maybe you're not going to start at 9 to 11, but maybe 10 to 12 or 11 to 12 and get some calls in. But track your progress, right? How many people have you talked to? How many people said, yeah, here's my email address, keep me posted once a month, right? Preparing to win the listing. Let's see. Heath, what are some things you think is important to get ready for the listing? What do you need to do in advance?
Practice your presentation and pitch. Have your comps ready. be able to explain your comps and the reason why things are priced the way they are. And then I was told to always have like a range as for the price. Probably like a $20,000 range or $30,000 range, just depending on sort of how aggressive they want to be. And I think that's all I can think of.
Yeah, that's great stuff. I mean, being ready, knowing your presentation, knowing the market, right? And that starts with you guys every morning, or at least every Monday morning, right? At least once a week. How many price reductions were done? How many new listings are on the market? How many houses went under contract, right? Like you guys should be looking at that every morning, I think, but at least once a week, right? Know your market, right? Read real estate material, right? The news is out there. That comes out all the time. Like keep up with your stuff. Like mortgages dropped last week, right? We're down to almost 5.25 for some stuff. Like look at that stuff. Know that stuff. So when you go out to a listing, that you're a wealth of knowledge to people, and people appreciate that kind of stuff. Customizing your listing presentation. Also have your marketing proposal ready. It's just part of your listing presentation. Let's see. I'll show you mine. Let me see. This is, can everyone see this? Yes, you see my
Yep.
listing presentation. Okay, so this is mine, and yours will be very similar, and you guys can customize. Obviously, you can see I put Team English. That's the name of my team. This picture was already in here, and I just kind of customized some things here and there. It's beautifully set up, right? Like this, if you're sitting in front of a client, let me explain a little bit about what Realty One has to offer, what I have to offer, and how we market your house. Okay, and then you're gonna present this to them and show them, some benefits of working with us. All this stuff is kind of already in here. You guys don't have to customize any of this stuff. This stuff's already in here. Oh boy, look at these adorable pictures. And then these are some things that I put in here, and I wrote this out. I added these pictures in here. You're always gonna get some ooh and ahs over the baby, right? If you don't have a kid, put your dog in there, put your cousin's kid, or whatever it is that you have, right? I didn't have a kid for a long time, right? I had my 10-pound toy poodle in here, right? So whatever that you have. And then everyone jokes, oh, how'd you get your wife? She's way prettier than you. I'm like, yeah, I get it. But it gets people talking. It makes you feel human, right? They want to work with people that they like, right? So this page I customize. Again, customized picture. I wrote all this out, and this is a little bit about me bragging about how many listings I've taken. And I wrote this over a year ago, and it's obviously that number's gone up, but understand that a lot of agents don't take listings, right? So you want to let them know that we're listing specialists, and even if you guys haven't specifically taken a listing, that's okay. Know that we do, right? And that you have people that are very experienced on the listing side and getting house sold. So if you guys ever need help, you have a whole team of people that you can always reach out to. So Leslie, if you get a listing appointment on Friday and you need help, let me know. I'll run the appointment with you, right? Or at least back you up, or talk to you from the appointment or after the appointment. So just because you haven't personally taken all those listings and done all that doesn't mean that you don't deserve their business, right? Because you have so many people that can help you guys out. And this kind of talks about us and what we sold and how we've done. Again, this is in your template already, so yours will look just like this. This is already set up in here. This is the house that I sold, the inside. So I customized this picture, but there's obviously already a picture in here for you guys to use. This is a $1.36 million house I sold in Denver, North Carolina. I like that picture a lot, so I added it to it. But in your presentation, there will already be a picture there. But you can always add other pictures from things that Realty One Group has sold. But I'm just kind of explaining to them that, marketing, this is how we market. This is some of the photos that we do. A big part of what we do is pricing strategy and all the different stuff. And I'm kind of going through them one by one, each part of this. Again, when they see this picture, it's kind of an ooh and ah moment. Home staging, I normally skip because I don't stage. Maybe that's something that you guys want to do. Then I kind of explained to them how we determine price and all that good stuff. And I spent a few minutes on this page. And this is a very big one. And this one, again, this page is already in your listing presentation. I didn't have to customize this. And one of the biggest things that you guys will see when you go to someone's house and wants to sell their house, what price point do what most people want to sell their house for? Leslie,
Highest.
the high, yeah, right. Everyone feels like their house is the nicest house in the neighborhood. Everyone feels like they want to sell their house for some ridiculous number, right? So I spend time on this page. And normally what I'll say is, hey, Mr. Seller, this first chart right here, this is a study done by the National Association of Realtors, right? Basically what they say, see this middle line where it's the 60%? If you market your house at fair market value, you're going to get 60% of the buyers in the buyer's pool, right? And that's the ideal number, right? That's going to give you 3 to 5 showings a week. That's going to allow me to get your house sold very quickly, right? If you look at the next line above, marketing that house just 10% higher is going to cut that number in half, right? That's half the buyers looking at your house, right? And basically what you're trying to explain to them is starting high is going to cost them time and money and potential buyers, right? So when you read this chart to them and explain to them that starting at fair market value is going to give them the best chance to make the most amount of money, it keeps them from, when you get to the end, when you ask them how much they want to list their house for, from pricing it as high. Does that make sense? And then the next chart, you see the higher and lower the weeks on the market. Takesha, what do you think a buyer's perception is the longer a house is on the market? What do you think the perception of the value is?
It's stagnant, something's wrong, or is price too high?
Takesha, you can answer too. So you're
I was gonna ask you to repeat the question.
What do you think a buyer's perception of a house the longer it's on the market when it comes to
Oh,
that?
yeah, like they think something is wrong with it.
All right, the value doesn't go up, it goes down, right? So that's what you want to explain to your people is spend a lot of time on this page. It's like, if you see here on week 2, you have really 1 to 2 weeks of peak energy, excitement, and buzz on a house, right? Once it gets past that, you start seeing the chart go down, right? So the longer your house sits on the market, the less excited people are about it. And those offers aren't going to go higher, they're going to start going lower, right? So for you to sell your house at the best price, you want to price it at fair market value over here on chart 1 and sell it quickly, right? So that's what you really want to explain to them is the old days of, hey, let me start out at 400, you give me an offer at 300, we meet in the middle of 350. Those days are gone, right? If the house is worth 350, let's market it at 350. And by doing that, we give ourselves the best opportunity to get multiple offers and maybe sell for over 350. But starting for more will cost you money, right? As an agent, the last thing you want to do is finally get in front of somebody and then take an overpriced listing that's going to give yourselves a bad taste. You see that a lot with houses that sit on the market. And I'll be honest, I've got a house sitting on the market right now, and I don't think it was overpriced when I first did it. But the market has shifted in the last couple of months, and they've not wanted to do price reductions, and we're sitting there, right? And I've seen other houses that are not nearly as nice selling for as much or more, but they have less weeks on the market. And it's literally simply that. It's literally about the time on the market. So we're at 10 weeks where these houses that are 1 to 2 weeks and not as nice are selling quicker and for more, right? So it's very important to price your house correctly, because once you're on the market and it's not selling, what's your next step?
Take it off the market.
Or a price reduction, right? And how easy of a conversation do you think that is? Not fun, right? I mean, depending on how you do it. I always try to market as, hey, good news. Your neighbor's house just sold. We are 1 price reduction away from getting your house sold, right? Let's get it listed at 235 and get some showings, get that buzz back and get this house sold, right? So that's how you're going to want to do it when you get to that. But ideally, if you're pricing them right, you're not having to do as many price reductions, right? So I know we spent a lot of time on this one page and we'll skip to the rest of it, but I feel like this page is very important because when you get done with your presentation, right, you're going to ask them, well, Mr. and Mrs. Owner, how much would you like to list your house for, right? And hopefully if you've hit this page hard enough, they're not going to give you some crazy astronomical number, right?
Hey, Brian, when you have someone that previously listed their home with an agent, but the agent either overpriced it or the market, shifted and it's just not at that value anymore and it just sat and they have a bad taste in their mouth, what do you generally say to them to convince them to list with you? I assume you don't want to talk badly about another agent, overpricing the house.
Right.
But how do you usually steer them to list with you?
Yeah. So
Like for instance, I've got one now where it was listed for 625. It's probably worth, after I went and looked at it, some of the condition probably more in the 515, 525 range. So they're telling somebody, well, they missed it by $100,000.
right.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, again, a big part of it is never talking crap about other agents. Let the seller do that, right? Just ask them why do you think it didn't sell? And there's a lot of times that agents that aren't as experienced or they're desperate to take a listing will take a listing at any price, right? If you're an agent that's only going to take 2 listings a year, yeah, I'll price your house at 625 because I want that listing, right? At the end of the day, it's going to cost your client. For me, Tyler, my biggest thing is I'm a rapport guy. So I'm going to go out there and spend a lot of time with them, get them to like me and want to work with me. And then just kind of show them the comps and be like, look, I would love to tell you I could get you 625. Unfortunately, I can't. And I think if you want any chance of selling for anywhere close to that, we're going to have to reduce the price. And even if it's, 549, at least you're getting them in the right bracket. But at least get them much closer to where they need to be. But just show them that you're the expert. And listen, I don't know why your previous agent priced it at that. The market was different a few months ago. And I hate that you went through that, but the way that I do things, I price houses so they sell quickly, right? And I'm sure that's what you want, right? And just get them to understand that the price is what it is. And if they want any chance of selling quickly and for over your new price, then it is to price not aggressively, but at fair market value. Does that help at all?
yeah, that sounds about right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I do have a question, Brian.
Yeah.
So how do you keep your listing, or how do you keep them around? Since they aren't willing to decrease the price of their home.
The one that's listed, but they're not want to do price reductions. I mean, I don't really have much choice, and they don't really either. They're in a contract, so we're still active on the market, and we're still getting a showing once a week, once every other week, which is not ideal. But they're just being very stubborn because they don't have to sell, which is a position that can be tough, and it's a very difficult house to sell because of the condition that it's in. Because the number of showings that I got them in the beginning, even with the market, it should have sold instantly, but the house is an absolute train wreck, to say the least. But it is, just, hey, like, if you don't want to reduce the price, that's fine. I'm going to continue working. And I call them at least once a week, once or twice a week, every single week, even if I have no update, like, hey, look, I don't have any updates. We don't have any showings this week, but rates have come down a little bit. So hopefully buyers are going to start popping out again. Right. So just every single week I call them and just give them something. And I'm not just talk to them. And these people are looking to buy a house. And Heath, I'll let you try to find them a house. And hopefully if you find them a house, maybe they will be more prone to reduce the price. And that is a very, very effective tactic as well. Somebody falls in love with a house, they're willing to reduce their price so they can get into that new house.
Cool.
So it's really just about communicating once, at least once a week. These are some different ways that, when buyers are looking at houses, I'm not going to go through all of this. Maximum exposure online, which is awesome. The way that Realty One Group markets. I'll let you guys kind of go through this. Again, all this is already in here. So I didn't have to put any of these charts in here. So it's already in here. It looks very, very professional. It shows off our app. Social media, put another picture in here. I didn't customize this page. It should be my actual pages, but I didn't put that in there. Again, all stuff that's already in here. And then I usually stop around this part of the presentation. And then it ends. Yeah. So that is the listing presentation. That's my presentation. And usually I'm going to sit through and go through it for, 15-20 minutes. The longer you can spend on it, the better it's going to make you look as the expert in the industry, right? So you're going to want to spend some time, know your presentation, know what you want to say on your presentation. If you guys want to role play at another point in time and kind of pitch each other or pitch me or have me pitch you, or if you guys want to ride with me on a listing appointment, I'm always happy to have you do that. But know your presentation. So understand when you guys get into a home, the more time that you're in that home, the better off you're going to be, right? So, a lot of agents on their first time going to a listing, they get in, they look around the house. My commission is 6%. I went on the Strauss for 250, and then it's just like, all right, cool. Thanks for coming out. Leslie, I appreciate you coming out. I got your business card. I'll call you back, right? And that's what's going to be, right? So you want to go in there, you want to spend the first 10, 20, 30 minutes building rapport. And then you want to spend 15, 20 minutes going through your presentation. And then you want to spend 10, 15 minutes or more going through your comps, and then get into price and commission, right? So you want to save those two nuggets for last, right? If we're giving up our price and our commission at the very beginning, that's all they need from us, right? And so they know that they like us and care about us. Once they have those numbers, we're out the door, right? So time is money, right? So if you're in an appointment for probably less than an hour, your chances of getting that are not great. Once you go past that, they skyrocket. So spend time with them, enjoy it, have fun. I'm laughing, having a great time when I meet with these people. Because again, it's more important. I mean, it gets a Realty One Group's an amazing company. You guys are amazing realtors, I'm sure. At the end of the day, it's a relationship, and they're signing up with you, right? They want to work with you because they enjoy you, right? They laugh with you and they have fun with you. So to me, that's the most important thing. All right, the 7 steps in the listing process, the pre-listing questionnaire, which is somewhere. Yeah, pre-listing questionnaire. And I'll send this to you guys as well, but it's basically the basic information. Why they're looking to sell. If you try to sell your house before, you're going to know most of the stuff in advance. I mean, if they were a for-sale owner, obviously they've tried to sell their house before. Do you plan to interview more than one agent for your house? I personally think doing this in advance kind of sets you up for not potentially getting the listing while you're there. And I like to get the business while I'm there the first time. But these are some good questions for you to know in advance if you can. But again, all this stuff, bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, year built, are you going to ask somebody this over the phone? No, you guys should know this. You're going to go into Realstax. You're going to be able to pull all this stuff up. You should be showing up and telling them that you know how big their house is, how big their lot size is. This is the shape of your lot. You should know that going into it, right? What's another reason you always want to look into Realist before you head to an appointment?
To know who owns the property, make sure it's the right person.
I did not think you were going to get that. I'm not going to lie. So, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I get a lead and it's just Curtis. I'm like, all right, I'm going to meet Curtis. And then before I head out the door, I'm like, let me pull up the property tax, and it's Curtis and his wife, Stephanie. Like, okay, thank God I got that, right? Because you need to know that before you go out there. And even if they just got divorced, you need to know that she's still on the records. So she's going to have to sign, right? So those are things that make you look like an expert. And when you're pulling that stuff up in the MLS, it's also going to tell you that they just refinanced in 2019. You know how much they refinanced the house for. So now you have a good idea of how much they owe versus how much you can sell it for. Doing all that in advance makes you look like the expert. But these are all things that you should be able to find out on your own.
Brian, did you say Realist?
Yep, in the MLS.
Okay.
And I can show it to you here in just a minute. Let me stop showing me. Sorry. Pull it up quick. Mhm. So let's go back and share right here. All right, so does everyone know, if you don't know where it is, it's, so in your MLS, if you go to public records, and then under public records, if you go down to realist tax. Should probably log in first, huh? So realist tax, so, do you want to have an address? Let me see, I got one right here. So you can basically pull any address in North Carolina here and a lot of South Carolina, almost all South Carolina as well, by just start typing the address, right? Understand if you're typing it in here and you're not getting a match down here, you need to change your county, and you can only select 12 counties at a time. So if you're typing in an address and it doesn't pull up, and it will pull up any address, it's because you do not have the county selected. And these are the most common counties that I just keep pre-selected, right? But for example, if somebody has a house in Winston-Salem, I would change that county to whatever it is. I think it's already Randolph, but that's the one reason why you would not be able to pull it up. So this is a house that was supposed to go and seen on Friday. All right, so it pops up one match. So the only name that I had originally was Beverly. So when I pulled this up, I found out the husband's name is Bruce. And this is going to give me everything on their house: bedrooms, bathrooms, last sell price, last sell date, square footage. And again, this isn't always accurate, right? They might have added a screen porch on, they might have, made some renovations, but for the most part, this is usually fairly accurate. Your parcel IDs on here. This is where you're going to go when you have a listing and you're going to put it live, right? This is because it has a lot of that pertinent information on it. Acreage, single family house. What's cool about this is it also kind of tells you a general price range that it thinks it's at, right? So even though you should do your own comps and you should, compare it to other very similar houses that have sold recently within the last few months within the same neighborhood, ideally, this does a fairly good job of putting the price range. So this house, where did I put my notes? Yeah, so if you look, I don't know if you can see my screen, but the notes right here, I have 260 to 286 is where I thought it should be priced at, and I had a price square footage of 150 to 165. So this was in that range, right? It's definitely less than 313 that they have it at, but it's right at the average that they thought it could be at. So it's a nice little starter place to kind of make sure that you're in the right ballpark. But again, this has their buying information, who they bought it from, the last time it sold, are they in foreclosure? And it does look like this, they had some potential foreclosure stuff back in 2021. And then a lot of times it'll give you a property map. Again, this is a very basic rectangle, but a lot of times you're gonna go to properties and this thing is some crazy trapezoid. It's always good to know that, because when you go out there like, yeah, my line actually goes like, yeah, I was looking at the property map and it's some crazy shape. They're always so surprised when I know that, right? So you're always going to want to print this. If you go to quick print, click the print button to save as PDF, right? So you just click print and it's going to save to my computer, and then I'm going to email that to myself before I head to my appointment, right? Was that helpful?
Mhm.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
So there's also gonna be times where you might just have somebody's name, right? And not the address, depending on how you get your leads. So in this case, I could put her last name in. first name. And hopefully it pops up. And I can pull the house up that way. Right. And a lot of times, what's another reason I would do that besides me not knowing their address? Anyone think of a reason why I would search for their name instead of the address? What if I want to know if they have more than one house? Right? If they did have more than one house, there'd be a list right here, right? There'd be several houses. So maybe this is a rental house that's not their primary, right? So there's times you're gonna have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 houses under that one person, right? Knowing that's very helpful, right? So again, pulling up by the address is the quickest and easiest. For the owner, it's always got to be last name, first name, right? If you're not getting any results because you're not typing it in correctly, and if you're trying to if it didn't pull up correctly by the address, and then you start typing on here, it's not going to work. You have to clear the other ones out. So it can be a little finicky. Just got to make sure that you're paying attention. The absolute biggest thing is the counties. So if you guys are not finding your result, it's because you need to change the county. So. Research and preparation, create and deliver the pre-listing package. I'll send you some documentation on that as well. Some people like to email their comps and what they offer and the resume to somebody before they go to a listing appointment. It is definitely an effective strategy that some people use. I like to show up, and I'm a walking billboard. I like to show up, and you're gonna find out everything you need to find out when I'm at your house. I try to give up as little information as possible until I get to your house. But everyone does it a little bit different. Conduct the listing presentation, obviously, and go over your pricing strategies. Ask for the listing, complete the listing paperwork, and obtain signatures. Let's see. Maisha, if you were in a listing appointment today, if you were in my house, for example, today, and let's say I love you, I loved your listing presentation, you want to sell my house for $1 million. All right, great. Let's sign paperwork. Could you do that today? I mean, do you have like your paperwork in place to do that right now?
Yeah, you could do that.
Sure.
I mean, does everyone feel confident that they could do that?
Before you go,
Yep.
Say again.
you should have it prepared before you go.
Yes, great answer. I always have my paperwork prepared, but and nonetheless, you should always know how to go into SkySlope, right? Find the exclusive listing documents, the oil, mineral, gas, the property disclosures, the work with real estate agents, lead-based paint. You should have all that. You should know where it is. You should know how to add them as a transaction and get all the signatures ready in a very quick manner, right? If you haven't done that before, and we talked about this last week as well, please practice that, right? Getting signatures while you're there versus once you leave is a huge difference, right? While you're there and they're like you're having fun, ask for the business, right? Get that, say, give me 5 minutes, let me just put some of this stuff together, and get that paperwork done while you're there. Once you leave, it gets a little bit harder. And there's nothing wrong with leaving and emailing them the documents to sign later. But the chance of them signing it go from being there in person if they like you and they're ready, from like 80% to less than 5%. And once you leave, things change, right? And guess what? Tyler's gonna call them. He's gonna call them. I'm gonna call them, right? Someone else is gonna call them, and we're gonna ask for the business, right? So when you're there, try to get signatures, right? So if you've never prepared doing that, go in, enter your own address or enter a fake address and pretend like you're sitting in front of a potential client. How long does it take you to prepare the documents and get it ready for signatures, right? That's a great exercise. And if you're not sure, again, last week we went over the listing presentation, right? Like how to fill it out and how it should look and all the different stuff. And did anyone do that last week? Anyone practice filling out paperwork? Okay, a couple of you did. Okay, good. again, always do that. Again, January's right around the corner. Some of these documents will change, right? They update them every year. I'm going to go through and look at them because I don't want to be surprised when I'm sitting in front of a client, right? So always know your paperwork, but if you haven't done this before, the last thing you want is to finally find somebody who wants to meet with you, to meet with them, to have them like you, to be ready to sign paperwork. And then you get to the paperwork and you don't know how to fill it out. And they're like, yeah, you know what? Just email it to me. We'll look at it later. Right. And you know what that means. I'm not signing your paperwork, right? Be the expert. You're laughing, but it happens. Be the expert and practice that. Please practice that. It's okay to say no. I only want to work with motivated, qualified, or realistic sellers. Absolutely. And I've done this so many times, and basically what they're saying is you don't have to work with everybody, right? Just because somebody wants to list their house with you doesn't mean you need to. Obviously, don't be out there turning down business, right? Because it's not a perfect fit. But if they are somebody that's you feel like can be dishonest and lie about the property and get you in trouble, then obviously don't work with them. If they're a headache while you're there, probably going to be a headache the rest of the way, right? In the past, man, I would, if I go to your house, I'm signing you up, and I would take every single listing I could possibly take. And there's times where you have a listing that's not good for you, that's going to take up a lot of your time, it's going to keep you up at night, and it's going to keep you from getting other listings, right? So if you find someone that you feel like is not a good fit, it's okay to not work with them, right? You're not obligated to list someone's house if you don't want to. But again, don't be turning down business if you don't have to. Saying no with grace. What are some reasons why, besides being dishonest, that you might not want to work with somebody?
They're hoarders.
The hoarders. Well, yeah, I've got one of those right now, but I mean, I would still sell their house. I have a hoarder right now, and it was on the market for 24 hours, and it sold. Right, it didn't show great, but I let people know that in advance. But yeah, so there's sometimes. What's another reason besides them being hoarders and dishonest that you might not work with them?
Feel like they don't trust me or confrontational.
Yeah, well, if they don't trust you, then they're probably not going to sign your paperwork, right? And that's a big part of the rapport part, and that's why I say when I get to a house, I'm not talking business. I am warming up with them. I'm getting to know them and to like with them. I'm asking them about their Dallas Cowboys sign on the wall. I'm asking about their grandbabies. I'm getting to know them and like them and building that rapport and trust. If they don't trust you, then it's not going to be a problem you saying no. They're going to be saying no. But yeah, confrontational is definitely, yeah, it can definitely be one, because when I present an offer to you, if you're going to try to fight me with every offer, that it's going to be rough, right? What's another one? There's one that we kind of went over earlier.
How did you explain to the buyers about it, like being a hoarder without,
I put in the notes that it's a little cluttered on the inside, but and then we weren't looking to have showings unless buyers were prepared to put in an offer. But every showing request that I got, I called the agent and said, I'm just gonna give you a heads up of what the inside of the house looks like, so your buyers can expect it. And the difference in doing that and not doing that is huge, right? So if you're a potential buyer and you're going with your agent and the house is a hot mess and you had no idea, the second you step foot in that house, you're done. In your mind, you're done with that house. You want to see the next house. But if your agent tells you, hey, Ashley, listen, I talked to the listing agent and they told me it's an absolute mess in the house. There's clothes up to your waist. There's boxes everywhere. Just know that if and when we buy this house, it will be completely empty and it will look different, right? So I just want to give you a heads up going into it. And me doing that got an offer instantly at full price for a house that I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't sure that I was going to get that offer. But yeah, just being upfront with agents and kind of independently calling every single one of them. No, the other reason I was looking for is price. Another reason I would say no with grace is price, right? So, you know, if telling you to mention that house for 625, it's probably worth, let's just say 525. If I was out there, or you're out there and say, you know what, we actually want to raise the price to 650. I would absolutely walk away from that. Like, look, I love the house. I think the house can sell very quickly. I think I'm the right person to sell it, but I got to be honest, man, at that price, I think it's going to sit on the market for a while and cost you time. And I'd rather not do that to you, knowing the market, and I would walk away from that, right? So price is a big reason why you'd want to say no to people. Because again, a house is just sitting on the market. It's taking time away from you taking other listings, right? And it's a fine line, right? It's a fine line of taking a house that's one price reduction away from being sold and taking a house that's 100,000 over, like Tyler was mentioning, because that's just going to sit there and it's expired now, and so another agent's going to sell it. So price is a big reason why you would say no. Qualify the seller, set the listing appointment. If you guys get somebody that's even remotely interested in knowing what their house is worth, schedule an in-person appointment, right? No matter what they say, ask for it to come out there, right? Don't put the pressure and say, hey, if it goes well, I'm going to ask you to sign my paperwork over the phone. Don't tell them that, right? Look, I would love to come out. It's my job. I'm happy to come out and just give you what I think your house is worth in today's market. No pressure at all, right? And then when you get out there, obviously do your thing, build your rapport, go with the listing presentation. But step one is you got to get the listing appointment, right? I don't care how good you know your listing presentation and how ready you are to have people sign your paperwork. If you don't set the appointment, none of that happens, right? So, Keith, this is something we were talking about a lot. It's like setting the appointment, right? Focus on like getting out there, right? Step one, if you don't get out there, none of any of this other stuff matters. So, you know, put yourself out there and ask to come out there.
Hey, Brian, when you're meeting with like a FSBO, do you, on the first appointment, when you're just previewing it, then do you just say, you know, I'd like to pull some comps and can I meet with you again and go through all that? Or do you just do it all in one shot?
I do it all in one shot. And I do all my comps and stuff before I go out there.
I mean, do you prepare them that you're going to present them that, or do you give them a
I
heads
just set
up?
the appointment. Yeah, I mean, again, for me, less is more over the phone. So if I'm talking to somebody, say, hey, look, I see you got your house listed on the market. I'd love to come out and take a quick look at it tomorrow afternoon around 3 o'clock. Does that work for you? And unless they're asking any other questions, that's all I'm giving them, right?
Yeah.
It's just very short and sweet.
And you present this at the end of your preview.
Yeah. So once I'm out, again, it should be so much of a rapport process, because if they don't like you, they're not going to work with you. But
Right.
you know, if I call that same force someone and say, hey, look, I'm the realtor that wants to list your house. I think your price is off. I'm going to come out there and run some comps.
Let's say no.
You know, you're going to get no every time, and understand that 90 other agents have probably already called that person and kind of told them the same thing, right? So I'm just pushing. Let me get my foot in the door. Let me just at least take a quick look at the house for a few minutes, and then we can go from there. And I found that I've had the most success by doing that. Is because once I get there, oh, you're all mine. But you got to get out there. We talked about this before. You know, the listing process. Do your comps. Know the neighborhood, and then have the neighbors' comps ready, because they are going to know them. I'm going to email you guys all this, the pre-listing questions to seller. Again, this is all a lot of the stuff that you're going to be filling out on the paperwork when you get the listing. But some of the stuff is just stuff that you're going to want to know for your if you get it live, you know, about is there a pantry, right? That's stuff that you're going to put in the remarks. How old is the roof? Is the roof leaking? That's stuff you're gonna put in the property disclosures, right? Why are you looking to sell is a big one. When you don't ask somebody why they're looking to sell, you have no accountability for them when they say they're gonna wait and think about it for a few weeks, right? Versus if you ask them right up front, why are you looking to sell? Well, my husband just took a job in New Hampshire. We have to move, right? Or the house isn't big enough. My daughter's moving in with her 2 kids and we need a bigger space, right? knowing why they're looking to sell and that hot button is always good for you to have. So always make sure that you're asking why they want to sell. Again, we went over this already. Again, these are, you do this in advance. I tend to do more afterwards, but some things that you're going to need if you're going to get the listing is a spare key, right? So you can put the lockbox on, recent mortgage statement. I mean, I'm usually waiting for mortgage statement and HOA stuff once I get them under contract, because that's stuff that the attorney's going to ask for them. A copy of their trust or LLC. Again, you can ask for that as well. Again, typically I'm waiting for these 2 through 4 once it's under contract. You guys can always ask for that up front, but I find that you're not really going to need that unless the house goes under contract. So again, this is kind of, is it a seller's market, and obviously for the last couple of years, it has been a very much a seller's market. We're getting a little bit closer to being balanced, but I would still say it's still probably somewhere in the middle. Than to a full-on buyer's market where we have 7 to 12 months of inventory sitting around. So it is still an absolutely great time to go out and take listings. If you have listings and it's priced correctly, you basically have a paycheck just waiting on you, right? So get comfortable on that side of the business. Yeah. Any questions? My voice
Not
is
right now.
a little longer than I thought. Go ahead. Nothing. All right.
Hey, Brian, I have a
Yes.
question.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, so let's say, listing with like, other agents, are like really, they're sitting on the market for like months and overpriced, and the seller is still in the listing agreement.
Mhm.
How I cannot tell, like, call them directly, right, to the seller?
No. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they approach you and want to talk to you, that's a different story. But that is a very fine line. Not even fine. I mean, if you're approaching other people's listings, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble and lose your license. So again, if they're saying that they're going to cancel their terminate their contract with their agent and they'd like to talk to you about it, that's one thing. And once they terminate, but you can absolutely not be the one saying, hey, you should cancel your contract with your other agent and work with me. That will get you in a heap of trouble. So yeah, so again, if they're already unhappy with their agent and they're telling you that they want to do that and cancel and find someone else, then hey, if and when you do that, I'll be happy to chat with you. But until then, I definitely don't have anything in writing that you're trying to do that either, because that will get to the commission, I promise you, and you'll get yourself in trouble.
See.
Any other questions?
Are you able to send the link for this video today or no?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah. It might be this afternoon once it uploads, once it's recorded.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send a link to that and some of the pre questionnaire and all that stuff as well.
Okay.
Again, I apologize for the voice sounding so terrible today. Hopefully it wasn't too bad for you guys. Hopefully this was somewhat helpful. Yeah. So we just got two more. We have module 11 and module 12, and then it'll circle back around to module 1. So it just kind of goes in a big circle. So but yeah, if you guys have anything, need anything, once we get off here, obviously you guys can call, text, and email me 7 days a week. So don't wait just for Mondays. But hope you guys have a great week. Practice your paperwork and your listing presentation.
Thanks, Brian.
Later, guys.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck, everyone.